It's time to huddle up. I'm Garrett Seawright. This is the Daily Huddle for Tuesday, September 12th. Thanks for making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. We certainly appreciate it. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. It goes a long way in helping us get in front of more college football fans. If you are listening on the podcast, give us a 5-star review or drop us in more feeds. Mel Tucker has spoken. Well, he's given a statement, at least. And there are some interesting things to parse out of that. If you are new to the Mel Tucker developments, you'll know that recently Mel Tucker was accused. Well, I guess not recently. Last year, Mel Tucker was accused of sexual harassment by Brenda Tracy, who is the rape survivor who now is an advocate and an educator to young athletes. She was sexually assaulted by some football players back in the day and has made it her life's work to make sure that as few women as possible go through the same thing that she went through. She was hired by Michigan State to educate their players on what she went through, what their actions could do and mean to young women. And in that time frame, she, over the course of 8 months, struck up a what she calls a professional relationship with Mel Tucker. And Mel Tucker reportedly tried to turn that into a sexual relationship, which she claims she rebuffed. Now, Mel Tucker has maintained that that is not true, that they struck up a relationship that was completely consensual. And late Monday, he released a statement about his side of the story. He said, "While I am saddened by Miss Tracy's disclosure of the sensitive nature of this call, let me be perfectly clear. It was an entirely mutual, private event between two adults living at the opposite ends of the country. She initiated a discussion that night, sent me a provocative picture of the two of us together, suggested what she may look like without clothes, and never once during the 36 minutes did she object in any manner, much less hang up the phone." So that is Mel Tucker's statement on the matter. That is his defense. Is I wish nobody knew about this situation. It's not great for me that it has gotten out. Mel Tucker has been married for more than 20 years to a attorney and is basically in this statement admitting that they did have the phone sex that he is alleged to have participated in with Brenda Tracy. So he's not denying the allegations, which I think is a good start for Mel Tucker. Of if one side says this happened, for you to take the stance of, well, that's not even the truth. That's a tough that's a tough spot to be in and defend yourself. So he's admitting that there was a encounter and that it was, in his eyes, consensual, or as he puts it, entirely mutual, private event between two adults living at the opposite ends of the country. Now, Brenda Tracy has responded to Mel Tucker's statement. And from her statement, it appears as if she is right in this assertion. She says that it is a Darvo response from Mel Tucker. And if you're not familiar with a Darvo response, it's pretty prominent in politics, where it stands for deflect, attack, reverse victim, and offender. So essentially, you are deflecting the accusation, attacking the person who made the accusation, and reversing who the victim and who the offender was. And by kind of the letter of the law, she's right. Deflect. He's saddened by Miss Tracy's disclosure of the sensitive nature of this call. but it was an entirely mutual private event between two adults living at opposite ends of the country. That would fit the bill of deflect. Pretty simply put, that would fit the bill of deflect, attack. She initiated the discussion that night, sent me a provocative picture of the two of us together. So he's saying that she's the problem. She's the one who started it. That lines up with the attack. And then reverse victim and order. She suggested what she may look like without clothes and never once hung up during the 36 minutes did she object in any manner and much less hang up the phone. Now, he doesn't expressly reverse victim and offender here. He doesn't say, she's coming after me and knows that if I'm found guilty here, I will be the one that loses $77 million of my $95 million guaranteed contract. He doesn't go that far, mostly because there's at least somebody smart enough working with Mel Tucker or for Mel Tucker to say, hey, you can't go out there and start talking about money when you're accused of sexual harassment. You can't do it. So no matter how much of a factor that might be in the court of public opinion, no matter how much that might matter to some people in the way this looks and goes, you absolutely 100% can't talk about it, no matter what. And I think that's probably a good strategy on Mel Tucker's part, because in the court of public opinion, outside of really substantial evidence, if he's got a recording of the phone call, there's not a whole lot that's going to save him. And he can play the card of, this is a university trying to get out from under a bad contract that it signed with me, but he can't play that card yet. He has to wait for the university to fire him to play that card. And he's got to wait to play that card. So right now, and I understand the whole public relations nightmare of everybody in America is running your name through the mud. I've never been in that situation, but I'm certain that it sucks. But there's not a whole lot you can do right now to clear your name. And I'm certain that that's not what Mel Tucker wants to hear, is listen, you've got to be quiet. You got to sit back and you got to say nothing. I'm sure that stinks. But if you want to keep your job, best case scenario right now is keeping your job. You got to say nothing, which is counterintuitive, because we're all designed that the second somebody runs us down to defend ourselves. It's human nature. Somebody says something about you that you don't think is true, you got to fight the urge to defend yourself. You got to fight the urge to point out all the reasons why that might not be true. But it's counterintuitive. It's not natural for anybody to take on criticism, especially unwarranted criticism or unfair criticism. That's not easy. So I sympathize with Mel Tucker, because I'm guessing that he believes that he didn't do anything wrong. In the realm of, I'm certain he believes that, like, oh man, everybody now knows that I was out here looking to cheat on my wife. And that's probably an uncomfortable situation to be in from a couple of different perspectives. But strictly from a public figure, high profile college football coach, this is a really crappy situation to be in. And yet, I can't help but think that your actions put you in this situation, that the decisions that you made, no matter what you were thinking, when you were thinking it. I said this on Sunday. There's one person on your payroll that you can't even approach in a sexual manner, and it is the person that you are paying to teach your kids about the dangers of not getting consent, treating women like trophies to be won in pieces of meat. No matter how much she comes onto you, it's the one person that you can't have a relationship with. It's the one person that you can't think sexually about. It's all there's and it's not a long list of people that are you can't you can't do it, Mel, you can't do it, and he did it. So I don't have a ton of sympathy or empathy for Mel Tucker in that regard. And I don't know that this is a great statement by Mel Tucker because what does it win you? What does it get you? What does it benefit you other than makes you feel good in the short term that you said something and defended yourself? Because when she comes back at you with a, hey, you are guilty of deflecting, attacking, reverse victim in order in this statement, she's right. I don't know how you argue that. Realistically, I don't know what the defense of that charge is then of, hey, listen, you are like this is textbook response to I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do this. I didn't do any of this. It's it's a tough spot to be in, but I think he's just making it worse. So I don't know where Mel Tucker goes from here. I got an idea. I got an idea of where Michigan State goes from here, and Mel Tucker probably doesn't like it. But I have maintained that I would be shocked if on Friday Mel Tucker is still the head football coach at Michigan State. There are hearings scheduled for early October. Brenda Tracy says she will be there, and she can't wait to be in attendance. So we'll see if it gets that far. There are just some things that I'm certain of. I'm certain Mel Tucker is not going to resign because a resignation is an admission of isn't it one, it's walking away from $77 million left on a guaranteed contract. In the court of public opinion, it's an admission of guilt. And I will maintain for a really long time that you can get fired for pretty much anything other than losing games, and you'll get an opportunity again somewhere, somehow, someplace. Art Briles has been attempted to be rehired. If you get fired for doing anything other than losing, somebody eventually somewhere. Rick Pitino is back coaching college basketball and is now back coaching a pretty high-profile program after accusations of not only cheating, having an NCAA championship stripped from him, but doing things on an Italian restaurant table that then was blackmailed, and then an assistant tried to blackmail him. He's got a head coaching job. If you do anything other than lose a lot, somebody somewhere is going to be willing to take a chance on you. Hugh Freeze is now back in a Power 5 conference. It might not be quick. It might not be fun, easy, or ideal. But the path to coming back as a Power 5 head coach at some point is the one way Mel Tucker would ruin that is fight this thing in court. Nobody likes an overly litigious person, and Mel Tucker is going to believe that he is owed $77 million and he was unjustly fired. Because I would bet you dollars to donuts that there's not going to be solid evidence one way or the other, definitive proof other than he said, she said. And that's what stinks about these situations is we've grown so accustomed to definitive proof, whether it is DNA, whether it's audio, video, whatever the case may be. We have phone records at this point that says they spoke for 36 minutes. That's the agreed upon story. And then it splits from there is that at 12:15 a.m. or whatever the time was that Mel Tucker called Brenda Tracy. They spoke for 36 minutes. Their stories differ from there. That's where it ends is, hey, listen, we don't think or know or have really any idea of what truly went on from there. We don't know. And that's all there is to know at this point. But I don't think it's a great look for Michigan State thus far, after originally saying that it was a great look. And a YouTube commenter busted that out on me. And I can't, as I said at the time, hey, you know what? Michigan State is tackling this head on. Well, no, they're not. I was wrong about that. I got it wrong. And for me at that time to say, that they tackled it head on is not true. That they waited 10 months. And the only reason we know about it at this point is because Brenda Tracy spoke up about it and said, hey, this is ridiculous that he is still coaching this football team, this football program. Why is he doing that? Why are they doing that? And now Michigan State's in scramble mode. It's not great for anybody. But I don't know how and why they let it get to this point. I think the answer is because they were hoping nobody would ever find out. And that's not a great answer. In other college football news, we're going to talk about Texas today. Is Texas back? Texas might be back. Or was Texas ever gone? And that might be the biggest question I've got is, was Texas ever gone? Or was Texas just simply what Texas is in the early 20s, late 2010s? Because I think at this point, Texas is what Texas has been, and not necessarily the depths of what Texas has been, but maybe more along the lines of the 10-2 competing but not winning 4 conference championships every year. I liken Texas football to Indiana basketball in that in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and into the 80s, they took the sport in their conference really seriously when nobody else at the time did, where Indiana basketball was playing in a conference where did basketball matter to everybody in the Big Ten? Yeah, to a point, but nobody was pouring in, the resources that Indiana was, and they benefited from that. In football at Texas and in the Southwest Conference, who was their competition for a long time? Arkansas every once in a while? Okay. It just isn't. They compiled a lot of stats, a lot of records, and a lot of tradition when there weren't many other opponents in their conference that were taking the sport as seriously as they were. And then once everybody got their heads out of their woo-hoos, magically it turned into something much different. And they fell off a little bit. But I don't think it's outrageous to think that Texas being a national championship contender once every couple of years and a conference championship contender every other year or whatever are realistic expectations. Now, nobody wants to hear that from Texas. Nobody wants to confront that might be the ceiling, because when you view yourself as a blue blood program, nobody wants to view yourself as, hey, you know what? We might be, a good year for us is finishing second in the division. A great year is winning the conference championship. A phenomenal year is winning the national championship. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to confront that or deal with it or whatever. But is Texas back? It certainly appears that way. Because is Texas Tech a Big 12 championship contender this year? 100%. Are they a college football playoff contender this year? Absolutely they are. And I think you saw it on display in Tuscaloosa Saturday night, where they are significantly better than Alabama was. They won by 10 points, and I said on Sunday they should have won by 20. There was no business that Alabama should have been in that game. And yet, there really were some self-inflicted issues for Texas. But it's week 2. You're going to have those self-inflicted issues. And the fact that they didn't come back to bite you and cost you in a game is only that much more impressive and better. So Texas is back. The question is, how do they do it? Well, one, they got a really great quarterback. Quinn Ewers can sling it. I realized that he was 125th out of 128 quarterbacks throwing the deep ball last year. He's only going to get better. He's only going to improve. And when they struggled was when they weren't great at quarterback. When they had Sam Ehlinger, who is a good college quarterback, they were good. When they had not great starting quarterback play, they weren't good. Kind of cut and dry, really. When you look at the past dozen or so seasons when Charlie Strong was the head coach of Texas, their quarterback play wasn't great. Then Tom Herman came along, Sam Ehlinger came along, and you know what? They got better. It's like there's not a whole lot to it. On the flip side, their defense has gotten markedly more improved, especially along the defensive line. They were the better team up front on Saturday against Alabama. And when you can be the better team up front against a team known for being physical on both sides of the football and recruiting the top teams, the top players in the country in those positions, it's going to bode well for you. And for a while, they had pretty good offensive linemen, but on the edge, were they the best? Were they recruiting the best players in the country? No. But they're starting to win some of those battles. They're starting to win some of those battles for the best defensive backs in the country, the best wide receivers, the best offensive linemen. I will hang my hat on the idea that that college football programs are built with talent from the offensive and defensive lines, wide receivers, defensive backs, quarterbacks. If you're not great at tight end, that's fine. You can overcome that. You're not great at linebacker, that's fine. You can overcome that. Running back, same thing. If you have a deficiency at offensive or defensive line, defensive backfield, or wide receiver or quarterback, you have problems. When it's all said and done, that's the issue. If you can recruit really highly at those positions, things go well for you. The end. It's not rocket science. No matter who your recruiters are, no matter what offense you defense you run, if you can be better than your opponent at offensive and defensive line, you got a 65% chance to win. If you got a better quarterback, that number goes up. If you got a better defensive backfield than they do, the number gets higher. Better wide receivers, the number gets higher. I don't think it's that difficult. I've said before, if you have a bad offense in 2023 in college football, it's because you're doing it on purpose. It's not hard to chuck the pigskin around or find somebody to chuck it or run it. It's not that difficult. And the teams that do it, the teams that don't do it, I guess I should say, are the teams who want to play ball control, pro-style offense, that don't want to be in shootouts, whatever the case may be. They don't want to be great at this. I don't know why. You'd have to ask them. But is Texas back? Yes. But the pathway back wasn't all that difficult. And I think Texas went through a situation where they were somewhat right-sizing, so to speak, where the expectations should have been tempered a little bit, because as I mentioned, I view them as Indiana basketball. You racked up a bunch of wins, a bunch of championships, a bunch of tradition and prestige when nobody else in your conference really took it seriously. And then when everybody else started to, you started to see your success wane a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean that Texas isn't a blue blood or isn't a destination job or isn't one of the finest programs in the country. They are all three of those things. But they are not, in my opinion, a program that can expect to be 12 and 0, 13 and 0, 14 and 0, 15 and 0, 16 and 0, and win the national championship every single year. I don't think that those expectations are necessarily realistic. And the earlier you can embrace those, I think the better. So that'll do it for today's edition of the Daily Huddle. Certainly appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. It helps us get in front of more college football fans. If you are listening on the podcast, drop a 5-star review. We'll read them here on the show. Again, that'll do it for today's edition of the Daily Huddle. We'll catch you tomorrow right back here on Saturday Glory.